Hi, Linda Sessions here, and I am going to go over the Excel Module Project 1, Excel Module 1, Creating a Worksheet and a Chart assignment available through Cengage and SAM. So I've already downloaded the assignment through my LMS. So here we are. Over here on the left, you can see the assignment details. Now, I allow my students to submit the assignments up to 3 times with the highest grade counting. Some instructors will only allow you to submit it 1 time, so make sure you pay attention. How many times will your instructor allow you to submit the assignment, and how are they grading it? So make sure you check that out. I'm going to click on the Start button. And when I click on this Start button, you can see I have 3 options here. First step is to download the files. I need to download the instructions, and then also download the starter file. And I'm going to use those instructions to make changes to that starter file. Once I have gone through all of the instructions and made all of the changes, then I'm going to save my file and close it. And then I will go to step 2, and I will browse my files, and I will upload it here in this screen. Now right here it tells you what name it's expecting to see, and once you have the correct file loaded, then this over here will change, and then you can submit it for a grade. Then you will have some new boxes right here, and you can actually go in and see what your grade is. And if you didn't get the full points, then it will let you know what you need to do to obtain the full points for that assignment. So I'm going to download the instructions, and I'm going to download my starter file. So I've got those downloaded. I'm going to come over here, open up my instructions, and I'm going to have to enable editing here. This particular file is Ferrante Dahl Consultants. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go ahead and put this Word document on my other screen. I have 2 screens on my setup here at home. And I'm going to download now the starter file. And the starter file is in Excel. Now it's in a protected view. This file is safe, so I'm going to go ahead and enable editing. Now I have my words set up in the dark format. That's why you see it, the dark format up here and not the blue. Most of you are probably going to have a blue background. Up here at the top, you can see right away that it's saved with this SC EOM11 Linda Sessions. It should have your name there. If you don't see your name there, first close the file, reboot your computer, go back in and open it up again. If it still is not showing your name, then you need to get with your instructor, because it should be showing your name right here. It should also show your name right down here as the author. First thing that we want to do, though, is to change the name of the file. And to change the name of the file, we're just going to take this 1 at the end, and we're going to change it into a 2. Now, in all of our Office programs, you're going to have a ribbon across the top. That's what this is referred to. I like to think of it as the brains of your Microsoft programs. This is where you're going to find all of the controls to change what your document looks like. Over here, clear over to the left, is the File tab. So if I click on that File tab, I'm going to have some options over here, and I'm going to come down here and you can see Save and Save As. Save is if you're happy with the name of a file, and if you're happy with where it's located, then you can just hit the Save button. It's not going to change the name, and it's not going to change the location of where it's saved to. If you want to change the name of a file and or the location of where that file is saved, you're going to use the Save As. So I'm going to click on this Save As button, and there's different ways you can go from here. I'm just going to show you my preferred method because I like to see exactly where I'm going. I always come down here to the Browse button, and when I click on that Browse button, here is a window that I am very familiar with, and I can move around in it very easily. I am going to go now to my OneDrive, my school OneDrive, and I am going to find my Fall 24 folder, and I am going to go ahead and make a new folder right now, and I'm going to name this Computer App Projects, and I'm going to open this. And now, this is the file, this is the folder where I'm going to save all of my files for this class. I'm going to come down here, and now here's my file name. You can see it says Linda Sessions _1. I'm going to take that 1, and I'm going to delete that 1, and I'm going to make it a 2. If you see a open parentheses and a 1 and a closed parentheses after it on your screen, that just means you've opened it. Again, this is just a copy. If you've opened it 2 times, you'll see a 2 within the parentheses. That means you've opened a copy. And you want to get rid of those parentheses and the number that's within those parentheses. So I'm going to delete those. You only want the 2. Your name _2. And then I'm going to save. If you don't have the correct name on your document, you can upload it to SAM for grading. Okay. So now we have done all of the getting started. So right here in our instructions, you can see where it says getting started. I've taken care of all of that. Now, if you only have one screen at home, you can actually take your documents and you can put one on half of your screen and then have your program open on the other half. So if I'm up here, I'm in my Excel document, I come up here to the top part of my ribbon and I click with my left mouse key and drag. I'm going to drag it over to the side, and I can let go, and it's half of my screen size. And now I can come over here, and these are all the other windows that I have open, and I am going to find my Excel, which I don't see on here. Oh, my Excel's here. I want to find my Word, so I want to find my instructions. Usually I put it on the other way around. So you can see now on my screen I have my instructions on one side and I have my document that I need to modify on the other. Alright, so I've already done the getting started steps. I'm now ready for the project steps. So you always, in step 1, it's going to give you a little bit of background on the document and a little bit about it. And then it's going to tell you, give you steps on what you need to do. It says go to the current accounts worksheet, cut the worksheet subtitle from cell E2 and paste it in cell A2. You'll notice down at the bottom of your Excel screen, you have these tabs at the bottom. Now when you first open a blank Excel, it's just going to say worksheet 1. You can click on this plus sign and add additional pages to your worksheet. So we have, and you can name them. So this one we have a documentation worksheet tab, which has all of our information here. And if we click down here on the current accounts tab, it's going to open up our current accounts worksheet. Now we can't see all of it because we're on only half of the screen. So right down here in the bottom of my Excel screen, I have my zoom bar. And I can click on the minus to zoom out, and I can click on that until I can see everything on my Excel sheet. Now I want to go to cell E2. E2 is the address of the cell in Excel. Your cells are always named with the column letter first, followed by the row number. So E2 means we need to go to column E, row 2. So if I go to E, row 2, here is current accounts. Now it specifically says cut the worksheet subtitle from E2 and paste it in A2. If you just go to A2 and type in current accounts, you will be counted wrong because it's specifically asking you to cut it. Now when you cut something from a document, then you are removing it and then you're pasting it somewhere else. Now if it's a really big long paragraph or title or something, cutting it and then pasting it is going to save you time. Now something like this, maybe not so much, but I want you to understand how to use these skills in Excel. Now there's a couple of ways to do it. That's one of the beauties of Microsoft Office. There is more than one way to do everything. Your textbook is going to show you the preferred method that Microsoft uses. If you go to Google, it's going to show you different ways. If you go to YouTube, it's going to show you different ways. And I will usually show you my preferred method. Usually it's whatever method that you use is the one you're comfortable with. There's a couple for this one. You have on the Home tab, you've got your clipboard up here. And since we have it only on half of the screen, our ribbon is truncated as well. Now if I make this full screen, you can see how my ribbon changes. I can see more of what's happening on my ribbon if it's full screen. And over here in the clipboard grouping, you can see right here I have cut. Another way you can find that cut is if you go to that cell and you right click on it. If you're having difficulties finding something, you can always come up here to the search bar, and you can also come here to the help and type in what you're wanting to do, and it will bring you up some tips on how to do that. Now, I like to right click, and then right here is cut. Now I need to paste it in cell A2. So I'm going to click and make A2 my active cell. And I'm going to, you can either go up to the clipboard and click on the paste right here, or I can right click and then click paste. And you can see it's removed it now from E2 and it's pasted it in A2. Now in step 2, it wants us to copy and then paste. Now when you copy and paste, it leaves the original in the first place. So we're actually going to have his name in 2 different cells. So we want to take Jordan's name that's in cell J2 right here, and now we're going to copy. So I'm just going to right click again and then click on copy. And I'm going to now go down to J11, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to hit paste. Now there's lots of different paste methods you can use. I'm just using the first one, which is just the basic paste. And you can see once I paste it, because I copied, I have this paste option box. If I click on this paste option box, you can see there's lots of different ways and things you can paste. And so if you move your mouse over these, in the PC version, it will tell you what type of pasting that would actually have done. The Mac version, you're not going to get those little boxes that pop up that tell you what those different pictures mean. You kind of have to know what it is or Google it. Once we have that pasted in J11, we still have this running border, this moving border going around it. If that bothers you and you want to stop that from moving around, then you just need to hit the escape key on your keyboard, the ESC key. It's usually located in the upper left corner of your keyboard, and that will take that away. The next part of step 2 is to clear the contents of cell J2. Now, if we come up here to J2 and click on it, if we want to clear the contents, that means we want to get rid of them. So some people would just double click on it and highlight it and then just hit delete. But we want to make sure that it's completely gone. So again, I'm going to come up and I'm going to make this the full screen, just so I can show you the entire ribbon up here. And right here in the editing grouping, you see this clear. Looks like a little eraser and then clear. If I click on this down arrow, you can see there are different ways and different things that you can clear. You can clear all, which is everything. That includes the formats, if there's any text, if you've added any coloring changes, any fill colors, it's going to clear everything. Now, clearing formats, it's just going to do that, just clear the formats. So if you've changed the font, if you've changed the style, if you've added color, it's just going to clear that and leave that text. Now, what we've been asked to do is clear contents. So we're going to come down here and clear contents, and that is going to clear only what we have in this cell, but our formatting and any comments that we might have in that cell are going to stay. So we're just going to clear the contents, and you can see now we only have his name in J11. Step 3, we have our heading, and we want to enter company in C3 as the column heading. So we've already got column headings in our other columns, but we're missing one in C3. If you're going to have column headings, you want to have them on all of the columns. Otherwise, it looks like you're lazy and just missed something. So we're going to add company. Now we're going to have capital C, and make sure you spell it correctly. If you don't, for this one, the autocorrect took over and it fixed it for me. But if you have a misspelled word, the grader, when you submit it, will count you off. So make sure you spell things correctly. Now we want to change the font size of the range A3 to J3 to 12 point. And then we are going to bold the contents. So to select a range, the first thing we need to do is make the first cell in the range our active cell. So we want to make A3 our active cell. So I'm going to click in A3 and make that our active cell. Now with our mouse over A3, you can see the icon changes to that white plus sign. Now you have to pay attention to what your mouse looks like when you're in Excel, because it does different things based on its appearance. Now, so if you want to select a range, you want it to be that big white plus sign. So now I'm going to click with my left mouse key and hold down, and I'm going to go to J, and I'm going to go to J3. So now I have the range A3 to J3 selected. Another way that you can select a range of cells is up here in the name box, and this is just a shortcut. If you know what range you want to select, you can actually type it in the name box. So I can type in A3 colon, not P, colon J3. Now I don't have to capitalize the letters. So when I have that A3 colon J3 in the name box and I hit enter, watch what happens. I've selected that range. So you can use the mouse to drag and select the range, or you can use the name box. And there's a couple of other ranges that you can use as well. So if you're interested in looking up a different way to do that, check out Google. Now we want to change the font size to 12 points. So since we have all of these selected, whatever we do next is going to happen in all of these cells. So in the font area up here, I'm going to click on this arrow. I'm going to change the font size to 12 point. And then I want to change it to bold. Now I want to AutoFit and resize columns G and J to their best fit. So if I come up here to the G column, you can see when I put my mouse over the G, it's pointing down. And if I move my mouse over to where it's between G and H, you can see how it changes shape. So when it's that double-headed arrow like that with that line, if I double click at that point, it's going to automatically make my column the best fit. Now, the other place that you can do that is up here, I think it's the cells, yeah. The cells grouping here in format, and you can do the AutoFit here as well. So we've got our G column, we've formatted it, and we also want to format the J column. So I'm going to double click on the J column and make it AutoFit as well. My cat's helping me with my assignment. All right. One thing you can do in Excel is change the formatting of the information that you have in your cells. So I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen size again so we can talk about the number grouping here. Lots of different things we can choose from in this cell right here. If I click on this arrow, you can see we can change the information in the cell, or if we select a range, the range of cells, to general, which is usually what it is by default, so there's no specific format to it. If you're going to do something that you're going to add, like if you've got a list of prices, if you have an inventory number, you know you're going to be adding the numbers together, then you want to make sure that it's a number. If it's currency that you're using, you can do it as currency. And I think it'll do euros and pesos and other foreign currencies as well. If you're doing accounting, a lot of accountants use Excel for keeping track of the budget. You've got your short date, you've got your long date, you've got time, a percentage. You can make something a fraction. You can make it a scientific formula, or you can just set it as text. Now, if you have something like phone numbers or social security numbers, or you're doing addresses, you know, like 3246 South Mulberry Street, that you want to do as text because you're not going to be adding any of them up. I've never seen anybody add phone numbers or social security numbers. So if it's a number and you're not doing any type of mathematical equations with it, then you want to make sure that you have that set as text. Underneath this is some other options that you can do with your numbers. So this first one is also the accounting number format. So you're going to find the accounting number here as well as here. You've got your percentage, which is also available up here in the general, underneath this general tab. Your comma separator is going to put in a comma with the thousands. And then you've got your decimal points. You can increase the decimal or you can decrease the decimal. So depending upon what you want your numbers to look like, here's where you can change them. The biggest thing to remember when you're creating an Excel spreadsheet is to keep the same number formatting style throughout. It just makes your Excel spreadsheet look more professional. So for this particular assignment, we want to apply the text number format to the range A4 to A9. Now A4 to A9 is numbers, and if we come up here, we can see that it's just a general format, and we want to change that to, what did it say here, text format. And so when I come over here and if I change it to text formatting, watch what happens to those numbers. It goes over to the left. If you have something formatted as text, it is going to line up with the left side of your cell. When you have number formatting, accounting formatting, currency formatting, it's going to line it up with the right side of the cell. In E5, we already have some text there, networking con. We want to make sure that says networking conference. So I'm just going to click there, and when I start typing networking, you can see it automatically fills for me, networking conference. Now this is the autofill. Since I already have a cell within this column that starts with an N, it's going to automatically say, hey, is this the one you want? And if it is, all you have to do is hit either the enter key or this check mark up here, and it's going to automatically put that information in for you, so you don't have to think about it. Next one's kind of cool. Of course, I get excited. I'm easily impressed when it comes to technology. Don't always understand it, but I think it's pretty cool. They have a company policy to contact their clients once every 2 weeks. We don't need to get a calendar out and check. We can, in H4, we can create a formula. And this is a formula without a function that adds 14 days to the date. So in G4, we already have entered the date. Now, we know that this is just a date that's been entered because right up here in our formula bar, we see its numbers. They've entered a number. We want to take in H4, we want to find the date that is 14 days from February 18th. When we are telling Excel to perform some type of calculation, we have to first enter the equal sign. So when I hit the equal key, that again is signifying to Excel there's a formula coming up. Anytime you can use the cell address in a formula instead of a static number or a static date, you want to do that. We want Excel to read the information in the cells as much as possible in the formulas. That way, if we need to update the information in the cell, if we have a formula that's using information from that cell, that formula will automatically update. So I'm going to click in G4, because even if we change that date in G4, in H4, I want it to be 14 days later. So now I need to add 14 days. This is how simple it is. I'm going to use the plus key to add, and then I'm going to type in 14. So I want Excel to take whatever it finds in G14 and add 14 to it. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hit this checkbox. And when I hit this checkbox, that's also, or check mark, it's also the enter key. It's going to keep my active cell in the same spot, and you can see the date changes to March 3rd. That's 14 days from February 18th. If I was to change this date in G4, H4 would automatically update. I don't even have to think about it because I used the cell address. I can now copy this formula down to H9. I don't have to go to each one of these and hit equal G5 plus 14 equals G6 plus H14. I can actually copy this formula down by using this little box right there. That little box. Let me zoom in. So if I move my mouse over that little corner box, you can see how my mouse changes to that plus sign. And so I've got that little skinny plus sign, or some people call it a crosshairs. If I click and hold my left mouse key down and then drag down to H9, it's going to copy that formula down to H9, and it's going to add 14 days to the information in my G column. So if I come up here to H4, up here in my formula bar, you can see it's G4 plus 14. Come down here to the next one, it's now G5 plus 14. When I copied that formula down, Excel assumes that I want my formula to automatically copy down as well. So I've got G6 plus 14, G7, G8, G9. If I have a formula that I want to copy across, it's going to change the column letters as it's copying the formula across. Save you a lot of time. Now this little box right here, again, that's my autofill options box. So it's going to be asking me, hey, did you want the copy cells? Did you just want to copy the formatting? I mean, if it's doing what you want it to do, you don't need to do anything. Again, that's not going to go away until you type something else. So I'm going to come back out. Now when I zoomed out, I have these hashtags up here. I always go over this in my face-to-face class, my online classes, in the videos. I will get letters, emails, questions. What do I do? How do I fix this? I don't know how I got these hashtags. I don't know how to fix it. When you get the hashtags in columns like this, it means that your column is not wide enough to show the numbers. If your column is not wide enough to show letters, so like if I was to make E smaller, you see how it just truncates the words, so I can't read all of it. I'm going to come up here and hit my undo button, and you can see all of it. But here in H, if it's a number, Well, Excel's not going to truncate a number because then you might not notice that the whole number is not showing. So it makes hashtags. Now some people refer to these as hashtags. Some people refer to these as the pound sign. Some people refer to these as the number sign. And if you were to take a poll, I think you could probably tell somebody's demographics by their age by what they refer to these as. Is it a number sign? Is it a pound sign? Or is it a hashtag? All means the same thing. So if I want to see what my number is, I can come back up here between H and I. I can double click, make it wide, and it will make it wide enough so now I see all my numbers. But that's what those hashtags mean. It just means that your column is not wide enough to show your whole entire number. Okay, so we are now down to number 9. In J6, enter 34675 as the contract amount for Claricom. So we're going to come down here to J6, sorry, and I'm going to enter that number. Now, when you're entering numbers in Excel, Excel will not give you an error message because it doesn't know what the number is supposed to be. And it's real easy to transpose numbers when you're entering them in. So just make sure you take your time, you pay attention to the detail as you enter those numbers in. So it's going to be 3, 4, 6, 7, 5. And as you're entering them in, they're all going to enter in, coming in from the left. I'm going to hit the check mark up here to enter them. Again, when I hit the check mark, it's going to keep that cell as my active cell. I could also have hit my enter key. The enter key would have also entered the information. It just would have moved my active cell down one row. And you can see that cell was already formatted. Let's look up here. It's got a custom. Let's see what kind of custom it is. It's custom. How I got here was I went to this, our number grouping, and custom is down here under more number formats. So you can actually come down here and you can actually be a little more specific if you know exactly how you want that column to look. And so here it's saying, hey, I want you to put the $sign in. This is the format code. This is the code that it's using. Good news is we don't have to write that code using Excel. So, but that was already written in there. It was already formatted, so that's why it's already set up for us. Now in J10, we want to enter a formula that uses the sum function to sum the contract amounts in the range J4 through J9. Now a formula, again, is we want it to add something up for us. We want it to sum something. And up here in our editing grouping, we have this auto sum. And if I click on this little arrow right here, on the home grouping, the 5 most common functions used by Excel are listed. And that's the sum, average, count, where it will count how many items are in the range you've selected, the maximum or the highest, minimum, the lowest. You can also find these on the formulas tab. All of these are formulas, okay? And you have the auto sum right here as well. So if I select sum, it will automatically put in the equals sum. When you're using a formula or a function like this, Excel will automatically put that in for you, the equal sign. So you don't have to enter anything in. it automatically put in the sum, and then in parentheses, it put in the range we're looking for. And that's what you have to watch out for. You have to make sure that the range that's showing up in that function is the range that you're wanting to add. It assumes you're wanting the number that's right next to the cell that you're wanting to add or subtract, or whatever you're wanting to do, and then it goes up until it hits the last numbered cell. In this case, it's correct. We want J4 through J9, so we can just hit either the checkbox or our enter key to enter the information. I'm going to go ahead and scoot down here at the bottom. You can see over here I can't see column A and B. So down here at the bottom I've got this little scroll bar, and I can move it, and now I can see A. So when you can't see all of your worksheet up here, you can use this bar right here. You can see I'm zoomed out 90%, so I can zoom out more if I want to see it all. Or I could make it full screen size as well. Now step 11 wants us to change the orientation of the worksheet to landscape. There's two orientations in Microsoft programs, landscape or portrait. Landscape is when the 11-inch side of the page is across the top and then your 8 inches is down. Portrait, your 11 inches are down and the 8 inches are across the top. So we can do that a couple of different ways. One way is to go to this page layout right here. We've got orientation, and we can change it to landscape. Right here under, I think it's, if we click on this page setup button right here, yeah, that's where we want. That page setup button right here, you can see we can also change portrait to landscape. And then we want to change the print scaling so it prints everything on one page. Nothing is more irritating than when you print a table and the last column is on a separate page than everything else, because sometimes you don't catch it. And so then you're giving the report to your boss, and then you realize that you've left off the last column. So we want to make sure that our scaling, we fit one page to one page. And we're going to say OK. Now when we do that, let's see, make it a little, you don't notice anything on your worksheet. So how do you know that you've set it so that it's going to print landscape and it's going to print just on one page? Well, you can go into the File tab, and we can come down here to Print, and we're going to get a little screenshot right here that gives us a preview of what it would print. So we can see, is everything on one page? Right down here it tells us this is going to print 1 of 1. What's really cool about this box right here that we see on the left is right here we have the landscape orientation, so you can change it right here in the print screen, and you can change the margins if you wanted it to be narrow margins, or right here you can also change the scaling. Maybe you just want all the columns on one page, or maybe you want to make sure all the rows are on one page. So you can change the scaling right here on this print. We want it to fit on one page. Now for my class, you don't have to print anything, so don't worry about that. Here in the instruction sheet, on the very last page, it gives you a preview of what your final project should look like. Do not just go to the last page of the instructions and then try to make changes to your documents based on what you're looking at on the screen. But you can use this as a guide. If you notice there's something that's really off, doesn't look right, then go back to your instructions and see maybe you missed a word or a step somewhere. But just use this as a guide. Don't try to make all of your changes just looking at the example. When I'm finished with my Excel document, I'm going to make sure it's saved. I'm going to close it. I'm going to come back to this screen in Cengage, and now I'm going to come over to the step 2. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to found where I saved that document. And remember, it was in my OneDrive, the 24 fall. I created a folder for my computer app projects. And here is my Excel 1. You can see I have the 2 there. I can double click on it, or I can just click and open it. If I did not have the correct file name, it would give me an error, and it would say the file name does not match. If you get that, then you need to go to your original file, open it up, and resave it with the name that you see right here. Now, you don't necessarily have to put in this XLSX. Excel is going to automatically put that in there for you. That signifies that this is an Excel document, and it will put that in there for you. So, right now, I'm going to come over here. Mine says unlimited submissions. This is because I'm in here as an instructor. Yours might say 1 of 3, or maybe it just says 1. I'm going to submit for grade. Submission successfully graded. If I want to redo the project, I need to close this screen. I need to go back to my LMS. I need to go back to MindTap, and I need to open up this project again. And if I close the instructions, I need to open up the instructions. I need to open up my original file. I don't have to start over everything. I can open up the file that I've submitted and make the changes to that file, resave it, and then resubmit it for a higher grade. So let's come in here and let's look at this graded summary report, see what I did. Don't always do them all right. And in this case, I did do them all right. So for my class, this particular project is worth 50 points. Yours might be worth 100 points. Again, each instructor, we're all a little bit different, a little bit quirky. So if you did not get all of the points, down here in the instructions, it will be red. And over here, it will tell you how many points you got out of the possible. So maybe you didn't get the formula copied correctly, so you got 0 out of 5. Then you need to go back in and see, what did I do? Did I copy it wrong? You need to delete that formula from that range, and then you need to go to this formula and then copy it down and then save it and resubmit it. So whatever it's telling you over here that you did wrong, you need to make the changes and resubmit it for the higher grade, if that's what your instructor allows. It's what I allow, but every instructor is a little bit different. So this is the grade that should show up in your grade book. Hope you learned a little bit about Excel as we went through this, and can apply that to your other assignments in your class as you work in Excel. I know I have some projects in my class that use some of these skills going forward, so have some fun with Excel. Help it to work for you. So I'm Linda Sessions, and that was the Excel SAM End of Module Project 1. Good night.